What's poppin', people? It's your boy Eric Drell back with another Magic the Gathering video, and today we're looking at all the blue cards in Zendikar Rising. It's going to be a limited set review. I'll comment here and there about constructed, but it's mostly looking at these cards in limited. Yesterday we did the white cards, or not yesterday, the last time we did the white cards, and right now we're going to do the blue cards. So let's jump into it. First card is Anti-Cognition. 1 in a blue, it's an instant at common. Says counter target creature or planeswalker spell unless its controller pays 2. If an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, instead counter that spell, then scry 2. So it's like worse quench kind of because it's conditional. But in limited, obviously it's mostly creatures, so you can often get them with this, and then it's just basically counterspell with upside if they have 8 cards in the graveyard. So you want this in like the mill kill rogue deck, but I'd probably usually cut this unless I really wanted to be controlling in my blue decks. So I'm giving this one a C-. Next up, we got Bubble Snare for a blue. It's an enchantment aura at common. Kicker, 2 in a blue. Excuse me. It's an enchant creature. When Bubble Snare enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. Yeah, this one's pretty nice because it's flexible. If they already attack with their dude, you can just play this for a blue mana, or obviously you can kick it and tap the guy. So I like how flexible this is. Pretty good. I want it in all my blue decks. It's definitely a C+. Next up, we got Cascade Seer, 3 in a blue for a Merfolk Wizard at common. It's a 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, scry X, where X is the number of creatures in your party. In your party. So it's kind of like Octo Prophet. I imagine in limited you'll often have a party of 2 or 3 without even really trying. So yeah, scrying 2 or scrying 3 or whatever. It's fine. This is like it's like a C. But you might just cut this for something better. 4 mana 3/3, meh. Next up, we got Charix, the Raging Isle. For 2 and 2 blue, it is a legendary creature, Leviathan Crab at rare. It's a 0/17. Spells your opponents cast at target Charix, the Raging Isle, cost 2 more to cast. And for 3 mana, you can have Charix get plus X minus X until end of turn, where X is the number of islands you control. Such a weird card, but it's like super cool, and I'm imagining this is definitely going to be like the meme of the set. We finally have a crab legend for you crab people fans out there. Yeah, this is just really good. Threat of activation, they'll pretty much have to block this, and then it's going to be like a 5/12 or something. So hard to kill in combat. Red removal can't touch this. Pretty hard to kill, and plus they have to pay 2 more to kill it. So yeah, it's just a slam dunk. I think this one is like it's like a B. It sucks that you have to pay to get the bonus, but it can be backbreaking. Actually, I might go B+ on Charix because it just seems pretty good to me. Hopefully you're pretty heavy on blue to get the bigger bonus on the activated ability. So B+ for Charix. Next up, we got Chilling Trap. It's for blue. It's an instant at common. Target creature gets -4/-0 until end of turn. If you control a wizard, draw a card. So you really got to be heavy wizards to play this card, but even then I might cut it because it just replaces itself and does hardly anything. So I would really just cut this almost every time, so I'm giving this one like a D. Next up, we got Cleric of Chill Depths. For 1 in a blue, it's a 1/3 Merfolk Cleric at common. It's a cleric, so for your party decks. It says whenever Cleric of Chill Depths blocks a creature, that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So blocking in the last several sets has just sucked because they can just remove your creature and then attack through you. But if they can't remove this, then it's an annoying blocker. Keeps their dude tapped, but it's probably going to die in that situation. It's meh. If you need a cleric for your party, here you go. There aren't too many in blue. I think Cleric is like the tertiary in blue. So it's fine. I give it a C minus. Next up, we got Concerted Defense. For a blue, it's an instant at uncommon counter target non-creature spell, unless this controller pays 1, plus an additional 1 for each creature in your party. So it's like a worse, like, what's it called? Spell Pierce, which counter a non-creature spell for 2 mana, or unless they pay 2 mana. So this will often be, Spell Pierce or even better. But in limited, you're not really trying to stop non-creature spells a lot of the time. But you could bring it in out of the sideboard if you're in best of 3. But it's pretty conditional and pretty narrow, so I'm looking at like D plus for this one. Next up, we got Confounding Conundrum. For 1 and a blue, it's an enchantment at rare. When Confounding Conundrum enters the battlefield, draw a card. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, if that player had another land enter the battlefield under their control this turn, they return a land they control to its owner's hand. So it's nice that it replaces itself. If it didn't say that, then this would be just pretty much unplayable. But it's nice that it does that. Just sits on the battlefield and is just kind of just a hate card for ramp, which is nice because we hardly ever see ramp hate cards. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, bringing in against your in best of 3, you're gonna bring it in against like the red-green ramp or landfall decks or whatever. So, or maybe red, green, white, or any combination of them. So, yeah, it's fine. This is like a C. You can just slide it into your blue deck if you need to look a playable. So, it's a C. Next up, we got Coral Helm Chronicler. For 2 and a blue, it's a 2/2. Merfolk Wizard at rare. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, draw a card, then discard a card. When Coral Helm Chronicler enters the battlefield, you look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a card with a kicker ability from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So I think a lot of the time this is just going to put the top 5 cards of your library on the bottom of your library. But you really need to have several kicker cards in your deck, probably like 7 or 8 of them, which I don't know how easy that's going to be. I'm not a big fan of kicker in limited because I don't like paying more for stuff, but it is nice with kicker that, cards early on can be effective like later in the game. So, and this is a nice payoff for that. Whenever you kick a spell, you draw a card and then discard a card. So, not bad. It's a 3-mana 2/2, so you really need to capitalize on the kicker upside of them. But it does kind of draw you a card, so that's not bad. I give it a C+. Next up, we got Cunning Geyser Mage. For 2 and a blue, it's a 3/2. Human Wizard at common. Has kicker 2 and a blue. When Cunning Geyser Mage enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. So, this is the world's most expensive mana war. But I think it's still playable. I know you can play it as a 3/2 vanilla. It'll count towards your party, and later in the game you can bounce something which might come in handy, so I think this one's like a C+. Next up, we got Deliberate. For 1 and a blue, it's an instant at common. Scry 2, then draw a card. So are you willing to pay 1 more mana to scry an extra card? Because that's opt is scry 1, draw a card. This one's scry 2 and draw a card. And the answer is probably, because scry 2 and draw a card, you get to see a maximum of 3 cards. So that's not bad for 2 mana. And it's similar to Anticipate. I don't know. I like this. It's kind of filler. It's just like a C. And if you need instants and sorceries, you can do worse. Next up, we got Expedition Diviner. For 3 and a blue, it's a Merfolk Wizard common. It's a 3/2. Has flying as long as you control another wizard. Expedition Diviner has when this creature dies, draw a card. So we've seen these stats many times. A flying 3/2 for 4. They put that in a lot of sets, and then this will draw a card if you have a wizard. So yeah, it's not bad. This is like a C, especially if you're in a wizard heavy deck. It gets up to like a C+. So nice to have this one in a wizard deck. So C for that one. Next up, we got Field Research. For 2 and a blue, it's a sorcery. At common, kicker 2 and a blue. Draw 2 cards. If the spell was kicked, draw 3 cards instead. So strictly better divination. Divination is usually playable in limited unless the format's too fast. I have no idea how fast this format is yet, but yeah, no, it's fine. You might cut it, but it's an instant. It's a sorcery, so you might want that in your sorcery and instant decks. Yeah, it's a C. Next up, we got Glacial Chasm. Yeah, right. Glacial Grasp. For 2 and a blue, it's an instant at common. Tap target creature. Its controller mills 2 cards. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step, and then draw a card. Really nice that it replaces itself. Taps a creature down for a turn. That's not bad, but it just mills 2 cards. It's like fine. It's a fine instant and sorcery for the instant sorcery deck. So, yeah, I mean this is like suitor removal, and you're not really going down a card because it draws you a card. So, if you want to cycle this for 3 mana and get rid of a threat for a turn, go for it. It's a C. Next up, we got Inscription of Insight. For 3 and a blue, it's a sorcery at rare. Kicker 2 and 2 blue. Choose one. If this spell was kicked, choose any number instead. Return up to 2 target creatures to their owner's hands. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. Target player creates an XX blue illusion creature token where X is the number of cards in their hand. So it's 8 mana for Kicker to get all these, which, arguably that could be a pretty good option. But for 4 mana, you're bouncing 2 creatures, or scrying 2 and drawing 2 cards, or creating a variable creature. The niceness in this one is the flexibility, because if you need cards, you got it. If you need to bounce stuff, you got it. If you need a body, you got it. But 4 mana for that is kind of steep at sorcery speed. If this was 3 mana, it would be really good, but hey, why is the Kicker so much? That's crazy. So I think this one really falls short of like the green one, which is definitely the best one. And they didn't even finish the cycle on this. There's only like 3 of these, so I thought that was kind of weird. But this one I think is like a C, maybe C plus. It's kind of powerful. I'd give it a C plus for the flexibility. But 8 mana to kick it is quite a lot, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we got Into the Royal. For 1 and a blue, it's an instant. A common has Kicker, 1 and a blue. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. If this spell was kicked, draw a card. Yeah, this is the original. This is a reprint from the original Zendikar. They did a functional reprint of this called Blink of an Eye and Dominaria, and it was pretty good in that set. I expected it to be pretty good in this set. I really like this card. It's definitely a high C plus. Just decent blue removal, and it replaces itself. So I'll often keep this into my hand if I can, because I want to draw the cards. So, which is not bad. So yeah, C plus for Into the Royal. Okay. Next up, we got Jace Mirror Mage. For 1 and 2 blue, it's a legendary planeswalker Jace, mythic rare, for loyalty. It has Kicker 2. When Jace Mirror Mage enters the battlefield, if Jace was kicked, create a token that's a copy of Jace Mirror Mage, except it's not legendary and its starting loyalty is 1. Okay, so +1, you scry 2, and then for 0, you draw a card and reveal it. Remove a number of loyalty counters equal to that card's converted mana cost from Jace Mirror Mage. So a lot of people are saying this is bad, but I think this card is really good. Okay, obviously it doesn't protect itself whatsoever, but it gives you like really good card selection. Like, imagine, okay, if you kick this, which you pretty much should always do because it's only 2 more mana. Hopefully you have blockers in your limited deck. But you get another copy. With the copy, you scry 2, you set up the draw, and then with the main copy, you 0, and then you draw your land or whatever, like your 1 or 2 CMC card that you put on top. Or you can put everything to the bottom, or you can scry 2 twice. I mean, it's just like, it just sets you up so well. It sets you in such a good position. you're getting 2 planeswalkers for 1 card. I don't know. I think this is nuts. Like, this is a straight up A. It only loses points. It's not an A plus because it doesn't protect itself, but it draws you up to 2 extra cards every turn. I mean, that's crazy. So don't sleep on Jace. Pick these up. Like, pick physical cards, copies of this up, and be happy with it. That you saved a lot of money in the long run because they're going to only go up from there. So this reminds me of Baby Jace from Magic Origins, which everybody thought that card was awful. Jace Vryn's Prodigy, I mean. But then it was like $80 a copy overnight, or within like the first week, because everybody's like, oh, I need this in all of my blue decks. I need 4 of them. Yeah, so just keep this one in mind. It's definitely really good. So yeah, A for Jace. Next up, we got Living Tempest for 4 and a blue. It's a elemental at common. It's got flash and flying, and it's a 3/3. So 5 mana for a 3/3 is a lot, but you know, this can ambush something, so it's pseudo removal, and otherwise it's an evasive threat. So you know, it's just like a C. It doesn't have any special types, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we got Lowell Mage's Domination for X blue sorcery at uncommon. The spell costs 3 less to cast if it targets a creature whose controller has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. Okay, and then gain control of target creature with converted mana cost X. So you really want to have that bonus here. It'll help you snag bigger stuff. Because then you can just cast this for 3 and take a 3-drop. But stealing stuff is always good in limited, so it's like better than removal because you're adding to your board while taking away from theirs. And once it's yours, it's yours. It's not like an enchantment they can destroy and take it back. So I like it. It's like a B-. You could first pick it, but it is pricey, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we got Maddening Cacophony. It's 1 and a blue for a sorcery at rare. Excuse me. Kicker 3 and a blue. Each opponent mills 8 cards. If this spell was kicked, instead each opponent mills half their library, rounded up. Well, this sets up the 8 cards in their graveyard thing pretty good for only 2 mana, which is good. So if you're in like the blue-black rogues deck, this is an auto include if you can get it. But if you really want to mill them hard, then you can pay 6 mana and mill them hard. So you could first pick this. It's like a B-, so but it doesn't affect the board at all, so just keep that in mind. Next up, we got Master of Winds. 2 and 2 blue. It's a creature Sphinx Wizard at rare. It's a 1/4 with flying. And when Master of Winds enters the battlefield, draw 2 cards, then discard a card. Whenever you cast an instant, sorcery, or a wizard spell, you may have Master of Winds base power and toughness become 4/1 or 1/4 until end of turn. So it's really nice that with the enter the battlefield effect, draw 2 cards and discard a card. Just strictly better than drawing a card because you get the selection. Then it could be a 4/1, or if they try to kill it with a 1 damage thing, you can make it a 1/4 again, which is nice. Put it in a deck with a lot of instant sorceries, and you'll be pretty happy. 4 mana for 4 power is a lot, so I think it's like a B, and I'd be happy to put it in my blue decks. Next up, we got Merfolk Falconer for 3 and 2 blue. It's a creature Merfolk Wizard at uncommon. It's a 4/4, has flying. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, scry 2. So this is like a strictly better air elemental. Plus it's a wizard for your party stuff. But the upside isn't like amazing, so it's basically an air elemental, which is kind of like a C+. So C+ for Merfolk Falconer. Next up, we got Merfolk Windrobber for a blue. It's a creature Merfolk Rogue at uncommon. It's a 1/1. It has flying. Whenever Merfolk Windrobber enters the Whenever Merfolk Windrobber deals combat damage to a player, that player mills a card. Sacrifice Merfolk Windrobber. Destroy a card. Oh my god, I can't read. Sacrifice Merfolk Windrobber. Draw a card. Activate this ability only if an opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard. So you really want the 8 cards milled. This is never going to get there on its own, so hopefully you have more support but it's fine. It's a fine rogue. It's like a C. They're making flying men like more and more OP with every set. They just get more and more abilities. Next up, we got Negate for 1 and a blue. It's an instant at common counter target non-creature spell. The art on this one is really cool. I really like the art on this. That's just like so cool. Good job, Billy Christian. Good job. Lots of flavor text. It's negate. You'll play it sometimes. You'll cut it often. It's like a C minus in limited. They've printed this a million times. It's pretty much here for constructed because they always want it in standard. Next up, we got Nimble Trap Finder for 1 and a blue. It's a human rogue at rare. It's a 2/1. Nimble Trap Finder can't be blocked if you had another cleric, rogue, warrior, or wizard enter the battlefield under your control this turn. At the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have a full party, creatures you control gain. Whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card until end of turn. Okay, so this one will often be unblockable. It doesn't care what party member comes in as long as one enters, which is nice. So it's okay in the party deck, and then if you can get a full party, you're probably already winning, but this will make you win even more. So this one's like a C plus. I'm not that impressed, honestly. The upside isn't that great, and this won't even be unblockable every time. So yeah, I think it's like a C plus. Next up, we got Risen Riptide, 2 and a blue. It's a 0/5 elemental, common. Whenever you cast a kicked spell, Risen Riptide has base power and toughness 5/5 until end of turn. It's not very good. How often are you going to have a kicked spell that you paid the kicker with? I really don't like the kicker payoff cards. Like, it's like more bonus for paying more. Cool art though. Geez, it's a 0/5 for 3, which I don't think is playable. I'm giving this one a D. I just wouldn't play this in my decks. Next up, we got Roost of Drakes for a blue. It's an enchantment and uncommon. It has kicker 2 and a blue. When Roost of Drakes enters the battlefield, you get a 2/2 Drake, and then whenever you, or if you kicked it, you get a 2/2 Drake, and whenever you cast a kick spell, you get a 2/2 Drake. So another kicker payoff. Nice that you can make the Drake, and it's nice that it's 1 mana, so can't cost any less than that. But if you're heavy on the kicker deck, this has some decent upside with you get a free Drake as a rider, so that's kind of nice. Yeah, this is it's like a B in the kicker deck, so you definitely want this. So for 4 mana, you get a 2/2 plus this enchantment. Not bad. So I'm going to B. Next up, we got the legendary Ruin Crab for a blue. It's a creature crab at uncommon. It's a 0/3. Has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent mills 3 cards. Yeah, you definitely want this in your mill decks, which I think is a real thing in this format. There's a lot of milling going on. Not much landfall in blue though, but yeah, it's fine. Huge Drunk Crab was good. It's sort of a reprint of that in a way, although you can't target yourself. Yeah, it's like a C plus, I think. I'm giving it a C, but if you have multiple of these, you can easily mill them out. Next up, we got Seagate Stormcrawler for 1 and a blue. It's a creature human wizard at Mythic Rare. It's a 2/1. Kicker 4 and a blue. When Seagate Stormcrawler enters the battlefield, copy the next instant or sorcery spell with converted mana cost 2 or less you cast this turn when you cast it. If Seagate Stormcrawler was kicked, copy that spell twice instead. You may choose new targets for the copies. Yeah, it's okay. I don't see me paying 5 mana plus, so 7 mana to copy a spell very often. Kind of narrow because it's CMC 2 or less. But there's some of those. Yeah, I mean, I don't know why it's a mythic rare. It feels like a rare to me, but it's probably really going to construct it. Can copy like cheap removal spells maybe, so I mean that wouldn't be bad. And notably, it can copy kicker spells if their CMC is 2 or less, but the kicker is say 3 or whatever. So you had to pay 5 for it. Um, it will still copy that because the kicker doesn't change the CMC. So that's one thing to know about it. So there's like that black, I think, sorcery for just 1 black. It's like destroy a creature, planeswalker, and then if it was kicked, or destroy it. But if it wasn't kicked, it's only CMC 2 or less or something like that. But then you get to kill 2 things, which would be crazy. Yeah, I mean it's pretty good. I don't know if I'd first pick this, but I'd give it like a C plus, and you want it in your instant sorcerer decks. Next up, we got Seafloor Stalker for 2 and a blue. It's a Merfolk Rogue. At common, it's a 2/3. For 4 and a blue, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn. It can't be blocked this turn. This ability costs 1 less to activate for each creature in your party. So it's already a rogue, so this will automatically cost 4 mana, but it gets cheaper for every other party member you have. So then it's a 3/3 unblockable. Yeah, it's playable. Fine mana sink, I guess, later. If you can get this down to 1, just a blue mana, that can be kind of a beating and can definitely be a problem. So I think this one's like a C plus. Next up, we got Shell Shield for a blue. It's an instant at common. It's got kicker of 1. Target creature you control gets +0/+3 until end of turn. If this spell was kicked, that creature also gains hexproof until end of turn. So this is like a worse like dive down, but dive down was really good, which was just 1 blue mana and you get both things. If you got a really nice bomb that you want to protect, you can put this in, but otherwise I'd pretty much stay away from this because it doesn't boost power at all. Blue combat tricks are typically pretty bad. So yeah, this one's like a D. Next up, we got Skyclave Plunder for 4 and a blue. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is 3 plus the number of creatures in your party. Put 3 of those cards into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's basically a 5 mana draw 3, but if you have creatures in your party, then you get some card selection. Yeah, that's fine. It's a C. I mean, if you need some card draw, you can probably do worse. So it's a C for this one. Next up, we got Skyclave Squid for 1 and a blue. It's a 3/2 squid. At common, it's got Defender, and when a land enters the battlefield, you guessed it, it can attack as though it didn't have Defender. This will probably be pretty good. It's like a C. I don't have much to say about it. Next up, we got Sure-Footed Infiltrator for 3 and a blue. It's a 2/3 Merfolk Rogue at uncommon, and if you tap another untapped rogue you control, can't be blocked this turn. And when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. So it's really nice in the heavy rogue deck. This always gets in and always draws you a card, which is really nice. So in that deck, it's like a B minus. You could first pick this and then go heavier rogues. It's like between C plus B minus. I would give it a B minus because drawing a card every turn can really snowball, and yeah, it gets out of control. They just kind of have to kill this. Excuse me. Sorry, I've been coughing a lot lately. Next up, we got Tazim Royal Mage for 1 and a blue. It's a Merfolk Wizard at common. It's a 2/1. Has kicker of 4. When Tazim Royal Mage enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, turn target instant sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand. It's okay. I mean, it's kind of bad as a 2 mana 2/1. But if you can kick it, you know, you can get an instant sorcery back, which I guess the kicker deck wants to do. So yeah, it's fine. It's a C. Next up, we got Thieving Skydiver for 1 and a blue. It's a Merfolk Rogue at rare. It's a 2/1. Has kicker X, and X can't be 0. It has flying, and when Thieving Skydiver enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, gain control target artifact with converted mana cost X or less. If that artifact is an equipment, attach it to Thieving Skydiver. So this is really good in like older formats, but in limited, like what are you stealing? Like the draw card thing for 2, or maybe some equipment or something. There's a few equipment in the set, but it's really not that prevalent. I am going to pick a bunch of these up though, because I think it's going to be really good in Commander because it can snipe Soul Rings. So I think this is a good card, like for constructed. In limited, it's like fine. It's a 2-mana 2/1 with flying, which we'll usually get through. So in that sense, I'm giving it points for, it's like a C+. Next up, we got Wind Rider Wizard for 2 and a blue. It's a 2/2 human wizard at uncommon. Has flying, and whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So it's a Windrake wizard that lets you loot when you play an instant sorcery. Yeah, you probably want this in your instant sorcery decks with heavy wizards. So yeah, that's not bad. It's good. It's good value. I give it like a C+. Next up, we got Zulaport Duelist for a blue. It's a human rogue at common. It has flash. It's a 1/1. When Zulaport Duelist enters the battlefield, up to one target creature gets -2/-0 until end of turn. Its controller mills 2 cards. Fine in the road deck. I just hate blue tricks that don't like boost your creatures or like hurt their creatures, but meh. It's not very good. I don't really like this one. I'm giving it a C-. Okay, and then we have the modal double face cards. Little preview of what's to come. So the first one, these all flip to be a tapped land on the back, except for the mythic rare one. They're all tapped. This one can come in untapped if you pay 3 life. Okay. Okay, the first one is 1 and a blue. It's an instant at uncommon. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-0 until end of turn. I'm going to pass on this one. It's not very good. It does target everything, or it doesn't target, but gets their entire board. But your guys have to already kill their guys. I don't like it. I think it's a C. It's probably better than I like it, but like I'm not going to put it in decks, but obviously these all have upside because they have lands on the back, so I'm giving it a C. Glasspool Mimic is a 2 and a blue for a Shapeshifter Rogue at rare. It's a 0/0. You may have Glasspool Mimic enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it's a Shapeshifter Rogue, in addition to its other types. This is nice because it's never dead. A lot of times you'll have an empty board and this is just a dead card, but you can just play the land. So that's nice. Otherwise, it's a reprint of the Mirror Image card, and it's also going to be a rogue, no matter what it copies. So that's upside. I like it. I'm giving it a B- because it's pretty flexible. Next up, we get Jawari Disruption for 1 and a blue. It's an instant. At uncommon, counter target spell. This controller pays 1, and then obviously it's the land on the back. Yeah, this is like Censor, except instead of drawing a card, you get a land on the other side. So, could be playable, and it's obviously better. It's nice that you can. It's not dead if it's late in the game and you draw it. So, I think it's like a C. Next up, we got Seagate Restoration for 4 blue. It's a sorcery at Mythic Rare. Excuse me. And then it says draw cards equal to the number of cards in your hand plus 1. You have no maximum hand size for the rest of the game. And then the back, when it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 life. If you don't, it enters the battlefield tapped. Add a blue. This one's bad and limited. It's definitely more for constructed. By turn 7 or whatever, if you ramped whatever, you're going to have 1 or 2 cards in your hand. So this will draw you 3 cards maybe. Woohoo, for 7 mana and you're not affecting the board, you're probably going to die the next turn. So I'm giving this one like a D+. Like, it's just bad. Just take it for your constructed decks, really. Next up, we got Saloon Division. It's for 2 and a blue. It's an instant at uncommon. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. And it's a land on the back that comes in tapped. So I think the art on this is sweet. Yeah. Yeah, you dig 6 deep for an instant or sorcery. This is really nice that it's an instant. Makes it much better. Yeah, this is pretty good in your instant sorcery decks. So it's like a B- in that deck. Plus, if you need a land, there you go. Next up, we got Umara Wizard for 4 and a blue. It's a Merfolk Wizard at uncommon. It's a 4/3. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery or wizard spell, Umara Wizard gains flying until end of turn. So this is the creature one, and on the back it's the land. Yeah, this is cool. It gains flying. Sometimes it's a 4/3 beater in the sky, and in blue you'll often have you'll have one of the 3 conditions. So I like this one. It's like a C+. And then with the double-faced lands, we have Clearwater Pathway, which is the blue-black one, and we have River Glide Pathway, which is the blue-red one. And is that it? I think that's it. Yeah. Yep, that's all of them. So there's 2 blue ones, the black one and the red one. Interesting that the blue ones are both the front face. It's weird. So yeah, that's all I got for you guys. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. I'll try to put more of these out throughout the week. But yeah, so thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next video.